are recording today's presentation, and a link to the recording and a certificate of completion will be emailed to all attendees following today's presentation. I also want to let everyone know that we want to hear from you. We will be making time for questions at the end of today's presentation, so feel free to use your questions and answers button or your chat button on your screen anytime. With that, I'll go ahead and turn the presentation over to Jamey.
All right, thank you very much. So welcome everyone, and this is the Create and Implement an Engaging Welding Program. That's our focus today. And so we're just going to kind of talk through and go through who we are as a company. We are a company that we like to say that we have innovation learning tools for skills training. We are in family consumer science, we're in health science, agriculture, and what our focus today is going to be in this welding and then also the trade skills area of education. So really just to start out, I want to give you kind of a preview of today's welding landscape. You know, in today's world, we still have this idea of a skills gap, and there's still a need for welders within the world in the United States, and it comes all the way from agriculture. We talk about infrastructure needs. There's manufacturing, production needs, but ultimately, there is definitely still a need for this skill for careers and for students to have quality careers. So in this case, there are the needs from industry. 450,000 workers are needed to fill certain fabrication and construction jobs. There's a need for welders. In fact, by 2025, there's going to be a need for over 400,000 replacement and new welding professionals. So this is something that we've talked a lot about and we've seen for probably the last 5 to 7 years, but it's something that continues to be there. And so with you coming today and us talking today, it's really how do we engage and get that next generation of students into welding careers. So one of the things that we have seen is in today's high school welding lab, there's about 8 welding booths, about 22 students per class. Now, if you go into the tech colleges today, you probably can double that in the welding booths to about 16 to 20 booths, but still about average of 22 students to 30 students in a tech college. So the amount of students per class is really the same, but the amount of welding space you have varies. And I travel the country and have seen everything from, you know, the one welding booth all the way to, you know, beautiful institutes that have 20 to 25 different welding booths. So at the same time, the type of students that we get are those students who like the hands-on work. They like to be able to see what they're doing, interact with their training, as well as getting themselves that understanding. And so one of the things that we have seen is the lack of instructional material, lack of different type of teaching and training tools to help you educate students in this welding world. So what we have created and really kind of are wrapped around different products into our RealCareer welding solutions. And what this is kind of the 21st century welding training program here, where we begin and we have a product called WELD VR, which is our virtual reality welding simulator that is just that, it's virtual reality welding. It gives all the knowledge of correct technique and how to do welding without the cost of materials, without the cost of consumables, and really in a safe, very safe environment, learning the technique that's needed. Now, from there, we have a GuideWeld Live, which is our product that I'll talk about today as well, which is guided reality. This is doing live welds, but you actually have a helmet, a welding helmet, that gives you the guidance inside of the helmet, allowing you to then do welds. And make sure you're doing them in a correct format. Then the final one is our quality inspection, our Bend Tester and our Weld Defect Kit. These are 2 different types of inspection. One is the visual inspection in our Weld Defect Kit, and then quality inspection with our Bend Tester and qualifying a weld. So in all of these, one of the things I want to talk about is the importance of curriculum. In every single product that we have, and it's a little small on the screen here, but every single product we have, you can see, has different curriculum for our products. So WELD VR has an immense amount of curriculum talking about welding technique, welding basics, talking about careers in welding. GuideWeld Live has the same type of things. It goes into weld defects and gives PowerPoint presentations, gives different worksheets, different activities for students to use. And then we also have our RealCareer Weld Defect Kit, our Bend Tester. All of these are different types of curriculums that include worksheets, includes PowerPoints that really help to drive student understanding in the classroom before they actually go and do welds, or while they're doing welds, to have that connection piece between the two. Now, the first one I really want to hit on today is WELD VR. This is our product that includes a hardware piece, a software piece in our curriculum. It is all about technique guidance and technique assessment. Everything that you do with our product is actually getting the student to make sure they're doing the correct welding and the correct welding technique. It is both GMAW and also SMAW available. So it gives you that ability to do both stick and MIG welding in the virtual world. It also has customization options for the teacher and for the student, and there's no local install and there's no license fees. So it's really focused for you as an educator and how you want to use it. Now, for one of those guns, we have a price of $4,900. If you get both, it's $6,400. So again, the most cost-effective welding simulator that's on the market today. Now, in this case, this is a picture of the actual booth setting. The student will actually see the weldment here that they're going to be doing, and then their gun in the virtual world. Now, in this world, they have different icons here that show up. Now, these icons can be turned on or turned off, and it gives them information about, in this case, the plus sign is that speed indicator or the speed guide. And as they go, if they're going the correct speed, then they're just fine. If they're going incorrect speed, all of a sudden it will give them, if they're going too slow, it gives them the plus sign, telling them to speed up, and you see it's green, like go, like in your traffic lights. And so go. If you're going too fast, it gets a minus sign, it turns red, showing to slow down and stop and go a little slower. You see the icon on the nozzle of the MIG gun there. That is my stick out distance too far or too close? And where am I supposed to be for this weld? You can use different types of weld thicknesses, and you have different types of material as well, from aluminum, from mild steel, and also stainless steel. So it gives you different options for that. Now, every time a student does a weld within the simulation, it allows a student to then be tracked. Our product here has actual tracking capability when they do a weld that is then also going to track the work angle, the travel angle, the plate distance, the speed, and the straightness. And so what comes from this is an actual assessment. Every weld that a student does, it actually gives you a score, including your work angle, travel angle, plate distance, speed, and then straightness. Depending on what and how you do, it then grades you based on all those different parameters and different values, and then gives you an overall score. Now, the great thing about this is that there are different levels. We have a novice level, which is a beginner level. We have an intermediate level. And we have an advanced or expert level. This allows you to hone your skill as you get better. If you're getting to the 90s and 100% on your welding technique in a novice level, you then can change the student to an intermediate level. That allows them then to go in and not only then have tighter parameters, but it also makes them then become a better welder. And so it's kind of a step-by-step process of doing that. Now, from a teacher standpoint, our products are great at allowing you to have customizability. You as a teacher can put in your students, just like you would in the sense of a username and a password for an email. Your students can then log in on their own and be able to get into the software here. You then can add assignments. You can take assignments away. You can do different thicknesses, different metal types, different MIG or stick type welds for your students. And the great piece is that it gives you information back. Students' assignments that they have done are then collected. They get graded for them, and you can see what their grades are. You can see who has done those grades in the class, who still needs to do certain assignments. You can see what their score is. You can also see what their score is compared to other students in the class to kind of give a range and an understanding of where they are. All this is in that teacher mode, giving you, the educator, all the data that you need to really have an understanding of what is good and how your students are actually doing, allowing you then with the virtual world to be able to see where your students' technique is, and then how you as a teacher, how you as an instructor can then help them as they continue to work. Now, at the same time, there are student reports that allow you to be able to see, again, what your student's doing, and then also be able to save and print those reports. So your students can actually then see, okay, this is where I was at the beginning of this type of weld. Now I've done it so many times. Where am I at the end? How have I improved? Have I improved? Where could I be doing, and what am I doing correct or incorrect that I can kind of work in that world? Now, again, all this is wrapped around then with our curriculum that is involved right with it. So a little bit small to see here, but it all is involved with also the curriculum alignments. We are Common Core Standard Correlation and tied with their Common Career Technical Core as well. So those different features are all kind of wrapped in the standards, are wrapped right into it. Some examples then is in our curriculum, we have teacher guides, we have worksheets. We have fact sheets that help the student that you can actually print out and have for the students. We have exams, we have quizzes, and then we also have PowerPoints. So you can go through all these different things with your students. So it's fully wrapped up as not only the product of learning how to weld correctly through WELD VR, but also including curriculum and different activities to really get their knowledge of welding to where it needs to be as well. Now, from virtual reality welding, we found that it actually, simulation helps enhance learning. Through a study from the Iowa State University, we've seen that simulators of students actually, and they've done studies where they have traditional training. You'll see that in the blue here, where traditional training is where you do the classroom work and you go out to the shop and you do actual welds. Virtual reality integration is where you do the classroom work, you include virtual reality training, and then you go out to the shop and you do actual welds. So you add an extra piece in there. When you do that, what they found is that in less time, more people are actually qualified. And so 25% increase in qualified participants, and then also less time, 25% less time. We also see that in both the horizontal and also flat position welding, where in this case, by doing that integration, by including virtual reality into your teaching and your training, we were able to get more students to be able to be qualified as welders and also do it in a less time. Even though you're adding virtual reality into the amount of time and practice that they get, on the back end, then they will have the understanding and the knowledge base a lot easier and a lot better in that sense. We've also found from different educators that the cost can be a great savings to them with virtual reality. By having students practice over and over and over again in the virtual world, they can hone their correct technique, not have bad habits, and save on consumable and welding costs. The time in the booth then is getting a student who is much more prepared, much more of an expert at that level of wherever they are once they step into that booth because of the virtual reality welding. Now, this is also seen in a what we call simulated arc time. How many minutes are your students actually getting into the booth? Well, if they're getting into a regular booth and you have students who are about 8 to 10 booths in your school, but you have 20 to 25 students, not everyone's going to be able to get in the booth. So by using virtual reality, you can actually increase your arc time to having, instead of them 5 or 10 minutes in a booth and then having to come out for somebody else, they can get up to 30 to 35 minutes in a 45 to 60 minute time. At the same time, over the course of a semester or a year, the amount of simulated arc time is just widely is much bigger in the sense of the amount of time that they get just doing simulated arc time and actually getting under their hood. Now, then they still have to go and do the real thing. We want them to do the real thing, but the amount of time that they actually get and the cost that it's costing them versus other simulators out there, virtual reality simulators out there, is immense. Now, I want to talk about another product we have in our time here, and that's WELD Live. This is a product that came from our instructors actually saying, hey, we love virtual reality. It makes sense. It's helping our students. But once they get into the booth, there's still the sparks, the sound, the heat. There's a lot of things that can throw them off. We want to increase and have a standard ability that they can actually be able to weld every single time. So what we've created is the WELD Live welding helmet. This is real-time corrective feedback in the booth. What happens is each weld that a student does, you actually can pick the type of metal, the type of both stick or MIG, what you're going to be welding. You can put the parameters on your machine. And then as you do a weld, you have WPSs that you have on in your helmet that then will tell you if you're going too fast or too slow as you actually weld. Now, all of this is going to be focusing on is your work angle, your travel angle, and your speed. So depending on what that is, it will then tell you through the use of icons and guides on if you're going too fast or too slow. So in this case here, we have a little video showing actual welding with our guide weld helmet. And once this person is actually welding, you actually look inside the helmet. Inside the helmet, as they're doing their weld, they're going to see their travel angle, their work angle, their speed, if they're going too fast or too slow. If they're going too fast, they need to slow down. If their angle is off, it's going to tell them which way to actually turn or move their welding gun to make sure they're in the correct technique for the weld. So this is all available as a product that helps students in the welding booth be able to do welds. Now, like I said, all this guidance is based on WPSs. So we actually have different WPSs, and you can customize WPSs as well to allow students to be able to go in and actually know what their speed should be. When they're doing that first weld, how fast should I be going? Did I waste a whole piece of metal because I was going way too fast and didn't realize it? Or using our helmets, you can actually go and make sure your speed is correct the whole time you do it. So it works on consistency. It works on standardization of your students' ability there. Now, with this Guide Weld Live, we also bring things like welding flashcards with the product, where you can actually see the types of joints, the types of defects, and then it gives a definition and a cause. All right. So one of the things that we really are training is not only of the technique, but getting that knowledge base of proper welding methodology, proper welding just know-how in what to do. Now, we have some other products that are also in the welding world. One of them being our RealCareer Weld Defect Kit. The Defect Kit is a very unique kit where it's 13 different welds, one of them being a quality weld, and then 12 of them having some sort of defect. Now, all these welds were actually welds done by AWS Certified Welding Inspector. They created the bad welds, and then what we were able to do was to take a mold of those bad welds with all the details of that bad weld and then create a plastic mold of that weld. This allows students and you to be able to see these welds, be able to look for the defect, and the great thing about this is your students can see an actual weld defect, and then we have flashcards, we have posters that work with the student. We also have a curriculum that helps them visually inspect and then figure out, okay, because of these types of defects, what do I need to do either with my machine or with my technique to make sure that I don't do that again? And so they start to understand and be able to visually see, here are the defects, and this is how I correct those things. So it all comes all wrapped together in a carryable case, giving you all the different defects that you can then train. You can then, there are assessments and there are exams that really give you that opportunity to help your students understand just the ideas around welding and welding inspection. All right. Now, another product that we have in this inspection world is the RealCareerBend Tester. This is a just that it is a manual bend tester, that guided bend test that allows your students to be able to prepare your metal, do a weld, and then test it to see would it pass regulation. Now, in this case, would it be a qualified weld? So in this case here, one of the things that's wrapped around this is that it all passes, and it's all based on AWS's D11 code for guided bend tests. Now, one of the great things is that the curriculum that comes with it not only tells you, the instructor, but it also teaches the students what the expectations are, how you should be cutting your metal, how you should be positioning your metal, the right grain, the way it should be going, and then when you weld, how to actually do the bending. And then after the fact, qualification. How do you know if it passed or not? If there are cracks, how big of a crack can be there and still be allowed to actually qualify? How many cracks? All that information comes in the form of the curriculum, comes in the form of the posters, and then also you get the bend tester to be able to have your students do this over and over and over again, allowing them when they're ready to go out to get that job, they can say, hey, I'm going to be prepared because I've done these welds already and I passed these welds. I know what I'm doing. So again, it is a great product for you to really help qualify your students' welds. Another feature that we have is our portable workstations. One of the things that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation is the 8 welding booths for about 22 students. One of the problems is space, and we all understand that. And so what we brought out is portable workstations, allowing you to have one of two. We have a small portable workstation that can fit right into your welding booth. We also have a larger portable workstation that can be a great demonstrator piece there. Students can come around, you can see that, or if you need another booth, it is there with protective gear that you can then actually use as a standalone booth. Both of these come with a lot of storage, very sturdy, very hardy top, great graded top, so then you can actually use in your shop. It comes on wheels, so you can roll it and move it how you need. So again, bringing this into your classroom, being able to use it in the classroom, in the shop, back and forth. 2 different type of workstations for you to use based on the needs that you see in your shop area. So we got a large and a small portable workstation. Now we're going to move from our welding side into still our trade world, but we also have our RealCareer welding electrical wiring kit. Now in this case, the electrical wiring kit is just that. It's a electrical kit, but everything that you do, we actually give you student exercises to do, and it all hooks up into our assessment kit. The black box that you see on the screen is actually an assessment kit using battery power, so you don't have to actually plug your unit into the wall, into a live circuit. You plug it into our DC powered assessment kit. It powers up the wall, and you can see if you did things correct or incorrect without any type of shock or any issue that comes from there. At the same time, it's also something where you can use our product here to do up to 16 different exercises. Wire one exercise, and then the assessment kit will tell you, based on when you plug in the assessment kit, if you did that wiring correct. And if you didn't, it tells you what you need to change on it. Now, the great piece about this is then once you've done one type of wiring, you can then go to another type and continue to do 16 different 16 different exercises in that world. Lastly, then I want to talk about just another product we have, which is our employability skills product. One of the things that a lot of times we'll forget about, or education can sometimes forget about, is so they have the skill, but can they get the job? And this is why we brought out our RealCareer employability skills product, where they have the skill to be able to weld. All these products are helping you give them that skill, but can they actually go and get through an interview? Can they actually hold a job? This works with lessons that include things like problem solving, time management, work ethic, how to interview, confidence, stress management, how to actually get and then keep a job in that soft skills area. So again, another product. This comes as a workbook, so your students can do the work and then take that with them, an invaluable resource for them to be able to go out and get the job in this world of welding. So another feature that we have. So from all this, our layout here, just an example for you to see, is being able to use all of our products really in the sense of the type of welding methodology that we use, from in the classroom, teaching the curriculum, using WELD VR to really understand and simulate welding, then going into the shop and being able to do live welds with our WELD Live product, and then get into the inspection with our weld defect kit and also our weld testing bend tester. So really giving that full kind of package. You can buy one at a time, you can do it all at the same time, depending on what your needs are in your school. So from this, we've seen training success at all levels, from middle school, high school, tech colleges, especially as introductory programs, especially in the middle school, of getting students involved and exciting, honing the skills in high school, and then really getting that understanding and that review and that technique training in the technical college world. We've seen it in correctional facilities, industry training, and then also in employment skill training as well. So it hits on every level, these products, to really get that knowledge and help those people who are interested in welding careers. So again, we have our virtual reality, our guided reality, and our quality inspection. So with all these products, one of the things that I want to that we're really excited about is we are having our end of year welding sale. And what this is this is the first time we have done this, is we're doing an end of year welding sale where for every GuideWeld VR unit or GuideWeld Live unit, you can save $1,000 per unit. So with our GuideWeld VR, it has to be with both MIG and stick unit. But in that case, if you're looking at our price of $6,400, now becomes $5,400. And you can do that for every single one. So if you want 5, you get $1,000 off each one. If you want 2, same thing. It doesn't matter how many you order. Same thing with Live. In that case, it's $6,500 product now becomes $5,500. So end of year, from starting today all the way to the end of the year of 2017, we will be having this as a promotion to try to help you in education with your funding. We know where you're at. We want to help you get these into your classrooms for your students to help education as much as we can on our end. So if this is something that is interesting to you and saving $1,000 per product in the guide of our GuideWeld VR or GuideWeld Live product, you can request a quote by contacting us today at 800-830-1476, and then going online. And you can also go online and there's a web form that you can fill out there as well. So when we send this email off to you, you'll be able to see that as well. Now, with that said, I've talked a lot, and I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, would love to talk and see if you have any questions. So one of the questions that comes in here is asking about GuideWeld VR and the software. Great question in the software. Let me talk just a little bit about the software. This thing about the software is our product comes as a standalone unit. It's got a USB plug-in, and it hooks right into your computer that you already have in your schools. Now, once you have that, we actually have a software that you can download onto your own individual computer or to multiple computers, and then you can move the workstation from computer to computer as you go. It's an easy download that allows you then to plug and play. You plug in your workstation, your students can then log in, and they can actually start welding. So that's been a great piece. So it can be used in your classroom. You can put it in the study hall room. You can put it in the library for a time. You can use how you need it. We have some schools that move it from the high school to middle school. It's available for you to use as needed. Another question we have here is just asking about the weld defect kit. And the weld defect kit is something that, again, in this case, it all comes packed together, and it is a nice case that is, again, it's portable, very portable. Just like our GuideWeld Live, just like our VR, they're all portable products in that sense. Again, so with that, our time is kind of coming to end here. I want to say thank you. If you do have questions, we'd love for you to get in touch with us again. Again, that number is 800-830-1416. If you have questions, we'd be happy to help you answer any questions, get a quote for you. And again, one of the big things here is our end of the year sale, that $1,000 per GuideWeld VR unit with MIG and stick, or a GuideWeld Live unit. So $1,000 off each from here to the end of the year, really trying to promote welding education through this. So we thank you for this time that you've spent with us, and please give us a call or contact us if you have more questions.